In today's video, we are going to be doing all about the Georgia for episode 5. So, let's have a look. We have, that's the country. That is Narikala. That's the Holy Trinity Cathedral of Tbilisi. That's the Bridge of Peace. That's the Getty Trinity Church. The Sulphur Baths. The Vardzia. The Mount Kazbek. David Galaji Monastery. And Mother of Georgia. So, let's read through this first. Georgia is a country at the intersection of Europe and Asia. It is a former Soviet republic that's home to Caucasus mountain villages and Black Sea beaches. It's famous for Vardzia, a sprawling cave monastery dating to the 12th century, and the ancient wine-growing region Kakheti. Kakheti? I think it's Kakheti. I'll do it this way, but I think this way. The capital, Tbilisi, is known for the diverse architecture and maze-like cobblestone streets of its old town. So the capital is Tbilisi, the official language is Georgian, the continent, Europe and Asia. The president is Salom Zourabichvili. So, is Georgia good for tourists? Because if you are planning on travelling there, this will be some good information. Georgia is an amazing country, beautiful, fascinating, clean and safe. The trip was incredibly well organised, with coordination, transport and guides all working flawlessly. Never having done a guided tour before, it was lovely for the holiday to be so stress-free. Our favourite places were Ushkuli and Mestia. Okay, Georgia is a country in the Caucasus region on the coast of the Black Sea, sometimes considered a transcontinental country. It is located at the intersection of Eastern Europe and West Asia, and is today generally regarded as part of Europe. So what is the country Georgia known for? Important crossroads where Europe meets Asia. Georgia has a unique and ancient cultural heritage and is named for its traditions of hospitality and cuisine. Okay, here's the Georgia country profile. I'm on the bbc.co.uk, I'll link it down below. Situated over the centuries, Georgia was the object of rivalry between Persia, Turkey and Russia before becoming eventually annexed by Russia in the 19th century. Since emerging from the collapsing Soviet Union as an independent state in 1991, Georgia has again become the arena of conflicting interests. Increasing US economic and political influence in the country has long been a source of concern for neighbouring Russia, as have Georgia's aspirations to join NATO and the EU. Tense relations with Russia were further exacerbated by Moscow's support for the separatist regions of the Abkhazia and South Ossetia, leading to a brief war in 2008. In 2024, Georgia adopted a contentious Transparency on Foreign Influence Bill, often dubbed the Foreign Agents Law, which opponents say is designed to stifle dissent. So, The capital is Tbilisi, as I've said about 100 billion times. The area is 69,700 square kilometers. The population is 3.6 million. The languages are Georgian and Abkhaz. The life expectancy is for men it's 69, and for women it's 78. So leaders: the president is Salam Zora Beachvili. There she is there. The Georgian flag, or part of it there. Salam Zora Beachvili first became the prominent in 2004 when President Mikhail Saakashvili appointed her foreign minister. She had previously served as ambassador to France, where she was born, the daughter of Georgian emigres, and worked in the French diplomatic service before obtaining Georgian citizenship. But she soon turned against the president, causing him of being a dictator, although she remained independent of the Georgian Dream Party that defeated Mr. Saakashvili in the 2012 elections. Georgian Dream has since reduced the presidency to a ceremonial post, and all future presidents are expected to be chosen by an electoral college, not the public. Miss Zora Beachvili stood for the post as an independent in 2018 with the backing of Georgian Dream, beating pro-Saakashvili opposition challenger Grigol Vashadze in the runoff. Here's another Prime Minister here. This is Irakli Korbakidze. There he is. I'll just give you a second to just look at it. There he is. So, Irakli Korbakidze was nominated by Parliament as Prime Minister in February 2024, following the resignation of his predecessor, Irakli Garibashvili, who said he wanted to allow his replacement time to prepare for parliamentary elections in October 2024. On taking office, Korbakidze said his government will be focused on ending the Russian occupation of South Ossetia and Abkhazia and tackling poverty. Korbakidze has made claims that the West is trying to push Georgia into the Russo-Ukrainian War and open a second front of war on the Georgian territory. So, media. Television is the most popular medium through online media are gaining ground as news resources. In 2024, Georgia introduced a contentious transparency on foreign influence bill, often dubbed the Foreign Agents Law, which sent several weeks of protests in the capital Tbilisi. Under the legislation, media and non-governmental organisations that receive over 20% of their funding from abroad will have to register as organisations acting in the interest of a foreign power, submit themselves to stringent audits or face punitive fines. The Georgian government argues it will ensure transparency of money flowing to support NGOs and protect Georgia from foreign interference. But its opponents, who have dubbed it Russian law because of its similarities with an existing law in Russia, believe the real reason for the legislation is to stifle dissent ahead of parliamentary Elections. Okay, so here's the timeline. 11th century. Georgian kingdom becomes politically unified under the Bagrationi dynasty. 12th to 13th centuries. Kingdoms of Georgia reaches its zenith during the reigns of David IV, reigned 1089 to 1125, and his great-granddaughter Tamer reigned 1884 to 1213. Okay, 1220 to 1330s. Mongol invasions and occupations of the Caucasus. 1299 to 1302, George V of Georgia defeats the Mongols and restores the Georgian kingdom. If you don't know what the Mongols are, they're the Mongolians. And restores the Georgian kingdom. After his death, Georgia disintegrates politically and collapses by the 15th century. 16th to 18th centuries. Safavid Iran and successive Iranian, Afsharid and Qajar dynasties and Ottoman Turkey subjugate the eastern and western parts of Georgia. 1801 to 1804. Most of present-day Georgia becomes part of the Russian Empire. 1879. History's best-known Georgian. Future Soviet leader Iosif Dzugashvili, or Joseph Stalin, is born in the town of Gori. 1918. Independent Georgian state declared in wake of Russian Revolution. 1921. Red Army invades. Georgia absorbed into emerging Soviet Union. 1956. Protests against Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev's de-Stalinization policy turned violent and prompt calls for secession from the USSR. They are brutally crushed by Soviet forces. 1989. Demands for more autonomy in the South Ossetia lead to violent clashes between Georgians and Ossetians. Soviet, later Russian, peacekeepers are deployed. 1990-92. After several outbreaks of violence, South Ossetia declares its intention to secede from Georgia and proclaims independence in 1992. Sporadic violence involving Georgian irregular forces and Ossetian fighters continues until agreement on the deployment of Georgian, Ossetian and Russian peacekeepers is made. 1991. Georgian Parliament declares secession from the Soviet Union after independence is overwhelmingly supported in a referendum. 1992-93. The Georgia-Abkhazia War. Georgia sends troops to Abkhazia to halt moves for secession. Fierce fighting ends with Georgian forces being expelled from Abkhazia. Up to 30,000 people are killed. Before the Georgians make up nearly half of Abkhazia's population, but up to 250,000 Georgians and others are expelled, virtually halving Abkhazia's population. 1994. How many are there? Oh, it goes all the way up to this year. We're only on 94. Georgian government and Abkhaz separatists sign a ceasefire agreement, paving the way for the deployment of a Russian peacekeeping force in the region. 2001. Clashes in Abkhazia between Abkhaz troops and Georgian paramilitaries backed by fighters from the North Caucasus. The tension is heightened as Russia accuses Georgia of harbouring Caucasian rebels, a charge dismissed by Russia. 2004, several deaths are reported in clashes between Georgian and Ossetian forces. 2006, South Ossetian votes in favour of independence in an unrecognised referendum. 2008, tensions between Georgia and Russia escalate into a full-blown military conflict after Georgia tries to retake South Ossetia by following lower-level clashes with Russian-backed rebels. Russian forces counterattack and push Georgian troops out of South Ossetia and Abkhazia. After 5 days of fighting, the two sides sign a French brokered peace agreement. Russia recognizes both South Ossetia and Abkhazia as independent states. Very few other countries do. Russia says it will keep a military presence in Abkhazia and South Ossetia. 2014, the EU and Georgia sign association agreements, a far-reaching trade partnership deal. 2015, Russian forces in South Ossetia move internal border 1.5 kilometers further inside Georgia proper, threatening main road linking west and east of country. 2017, breakaway region of South Ossetia holds presidential election and a referendum on changing its name to the state of Alania as part of a plan to join the Russian Federation. 2022, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Georgia becomes a temporary home for many Russian exiles. 2023, Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili draws domestic and international criticism for saying that NATO enlargement was one of the main reasons for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Georgia gains its long-standing goal of EU candidate status. 2024, Georgia introduces a contentious. This is like the third time I've said it now. Georgia introduces a contentious Transparency on Influence bill, often dubbed the Foreign Agents Law, sparking weeks of protests in Tbilisi. Right. Wow. So, in the next video, we'll be doing Iceland, so watch out for that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like this video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.